Welcome back to Fantasy Filmball. My name is Dyl, that is Matt, and on today's episode, we are doing a little bit of a draft because that's what we do here on Fantasy Filmball, and we are drafting Netflix's slate of films this year. So, we have 18 films on the docket for today's draft of Netflix's slate that's on their For You consideration page. This can range from documentaries, animated features, international features, and just some generic good time type movies, because guess what? The Gray Man is on their For You consideration page. So who knows? Maybe one of us is drafting the Gray Man today. I haven't seen it. I don't know if you've even seen it. So
I've seen
probably
it. It's
not.
awful.
So probably it's not getting drafted. So essentially, here's how the draft's going to work today. There's 18 films here. We don't want to bore you with drafting 9 apiece. That's way too many. And that doesn't leave any fun for what goes undrafted. So we're just going to get 5 movies. And we're not really drafting to what is our 5 favorite. We're drafting what we think is the 5 best movies here. And then after we draft, we'll post a link that has our combined teams. And if you're watching here on YouTube, you'll see them pop up as we draft, and you'll be able to see all 5 films competing against each other at the end. And we'll have a little poll. We'll have one on Twitter. We'll have one here on YouTube as well, where you can pick which team you think is the more well-crafted and better team. Because obviously, we could draft our favorite movies, and I could pick Bardo first and pick, I don't know, Blonde in like the 3rd round. But obviously, those are not very good films per se, while there's some maybe better made films here. That's what's the fun of this game. Everyone's interpretation can be different, and you could have one person who thinks one team obliterates the other, while they could be a little bit more even. But since this is a game I present to the table, I want to be nice and let Matt have the first selection. This will be a snake draft, so you get pick 1, I'll have 2 and 3, you're back for 4 and 5. But going forward, the winner will start getting the first pick in the next draft.
This is fun. I'm really excited to do this because we haven't done this before. Up until now, the Fantasy Filmball part of this show has just been that we're playing a separate game. But yeah, let's get into the draft. Okay, so for my first pick here, I gotta go with my favorite. I have to go with the best Netflix film of the year, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It's my favorite. I think it's the best. I think it has the most awards potential. And I think it's the one that's going to last the longest. If we talk about what film here are people going to be watching for years from now, it's going to be Pinocchio. Pinocchio is the one that people are always going to come back to.
That's a very good pick. Honestly, even though it's not my favorite here, it's definitely the best pick on the board because, like you mentioned, this is one that's going to be long-standing. We've even seen with like other Pinocchio movies, while no one says Pinocchio is the best Disney anime movie of all time, everyone knows Pinocchio. And this is the best adaptation of Pinocchio, so obviously you got to go with it. It's also by far the best animated movie on this, so if you want a well-rounded lineup, you got that. I'm going the complete opposite side. You have going to be a highly seen movie that's going to be remembered for a long time. Give me a very fun movie that everyone is going to want to watch and want to rewatch, and that's Glass Onion, the new Knives Out mystery. Rian Johnson's back. He's got Daniel Craig back and a whole new ensemble. This is a great time. This is fun. Is it the best movie in the world? No, there's definitely some faults in there, but this is a really fun time, a really great movie, and one I think a lot of people will see, and the one I think a lot of people will enjoy. But to pair that with, I want to pair it with a very well-crafted film that also has gotten pretty good viewership, and almost everyone who's seen it has really liked it, and that is All Quiet on the Western Front. Is this the most interesting movie per se? Maybe, maybe not, but this is such a well-crafted movie. The text, the cinematography, the score, the sound. This has been called one of the best war adaptations of all time. I fully believe that, and I want it on my squad. So Matt, we're back to you with your next 2 picks.
You bastard. I really thought you were going to go for Bardo there. My God. Okay. All right. Now, I'm a little bit stuck here now because you just picked my next 2 that I wanted to go with. Like the next 2 ones that I'm like, yeah, these are great films. And I don't know if anything else left is like a great film. Except for one thing. There's one film here that I really love, but I don't know if it's the wisest choice to pick it at this point. So you know what? Next, I'm going to go for Bardo. I'll go for Bardo at this point. I think that this one has a great pedigree. It's a very good film. It's not one that I love wholeheartedly, but it's a film that I think will have an impact and I think is going to be loved in the art world forever. This is going to be, if there's any film here that gets a Criterion release besides Pinocchio, it's Bardo. Bardo's getting that that sweet Criterion Collection disc right there.
That cover would be beautiful.
Oh, it's gonna be stunning. Okay, but now I think I have to go with something that I haven't seen. If we're whittling down the big contenders, the big movies that Netflix spent money on this year, I have to go with White Noise. I haven't seen this one yet. It has not released yet. And it's one that, while I haven't been too hot on it, I think overall this is one that has one of the most impressive casts. It cost like $120 million. It's a very audacious idea. It's gotten some good reviews, and Noah Baumbach did it. So you know what? I'm sticking with that choice and saying White Noise is my my next pick.
White Noise, I think, is a very interesting pick because I think it's one that will get so many reactions out of people, whether they have seen or they haven't, because it's based on a novel, a very beloved novel that a lot of people, kind of like Dune from last year, say is unadaptable. And the people who have seen it, there's been people who have raved, said this is my favorite of the year. It has, like you mentioned, such a great cast, such a witty script. And then there's been people like, the script just doesn't work for me. While I appreciate Baumbach, he's doing a little bit too much. And that's kind of what people say about Bardo as well. So I like how you have that little nice pairing of like very respected directors doing something a little bit different, but still kind of up their alley.
I can already see myself losing this poll. Like, as I look at my team, I'm like, ooh, I have Bardo and White Noise. I'm losing.
Hey, well, a lot of people, I've made this case many times before. I think Bardo has a secret cave of supporters. I think there's very vocal people who hate Bardo, but the people who like Bardo aren't as loud. They keep it to themselves. They don't want to be made fun of. And that's kind of the case, I feel, with this next movie I'm taking, because it came out on Netflix, kind of came and went. But when we get to nomination morning and every nominations for Best Animated Feature, this movie's going to show up, and that's Cartoon Saloon's newest My Father's Dragon. It's one we talked on the show before. We both were like, it's cool. Is it great? No, but it's fun. It's got some amazing animation, and it's got some themes that, kind of like Pinocchio, can hit for older demographics and younger demographics. So I like pairing that with my little lineup here, because I have Glass Onion, which is a movie for everyone, but maybe more for the adults. All Quiet on the Western Front, a movie solely for the adults. And My Father's Dragon, which parents can get enjoyment out of, but kids should love, because I saw it in a screen full of kids at the Virginia Film Festival, and every kid there seemed like they were having such a great time with that. However, I'm pairing that with a movie that is very much probably going to be what kids would be like, this is boring, I don't care. But I'm going with a documentary, and this is one I've only heard great things about. I'm leaving a documentary on the board. This is probably a risky pick because there's a few here that are really good. But Senior, I've heard nothing but great things out of. Whether it is the Next Best Picture team seeing it, was it other people at various film festivals, everyone who comes out of this movie seems to be loving it, and seems to be that this is one that they highly recommend for people who don't even like documentaries. It's just a very interesting story, and it has a new perspective. Plus, it has Robert Downey and Robert Downey Jr. So who's not down for that?
That is not the documentary I expected you to pick.
I really know. Didn't expect that's why I said it's a risky pick, but
that is a risky pick.
I feel like that's just a movie that a lot of people, once they do see it, will be like, yeah, I rock with it.
Okay, I see your argument there. And I'm going to counteract you by going with not one of the biggest contenders of the year, but one of my favorite films of the year. So my next pick is going to be Athena, which is one of the most spectacular goddamn films I've ever seen. This is a film that, when I watched it, my jaw was on the floor for most of the movie. Like, is it the most interesting story? Is the plot great? Are the characters really compelling? Not always, but if we're looking at just pure filmmaking genius, like, this film is just composed of long take after long take after long take. Everything is just, like, stunning. In the first scene, I thought multiple times to myself, how the fuck did they do that? Because in the first scene, okay, for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, I'm not going to spoil anything, just, like, Watch this film, it will blow your mind. But in the first scene, they go from a police station where they're fighting and like firing flares in the hallway. They go from the police station into a car. They drive the car across the city as we see people outside the entire way across the city. This is Paris. I don't know how they shut down Paris to like have this van drive through and have action happening the entire way. But at one point in this van trip, someone literally, the camera is in the van, and then the camera moves out of the van far away. We're seeing the van from a distance, and then it moves back and goes back into the van. How did they do it? I don't know how they did it. It's insane. So this is a passion pick for me. It's one of the best movies of the year. And while it might not be a contender, it's one that I'm so passionate about and would love to put here. Now, okay, I'm going to talk through my process on this last one. Because I'm a little bit torn. On one hand, I know that there's a correct choice here. But on the other hand, I feel like there's also an argument for me taking Apollo 10.5, which is a great little animated film. There's also an argument for me taking Matilda, which the reason I'm not going to take Matilda, because it is a contender, but it's a film that it would make my team look like shit. Because people aren't excited for that film, no matter how excited I am. The Wonder is also a film that I could really see being, a film that looks good on my team. Or something that's not even listed on our group here. Another Netflix film, Jonah Hill's documentary, Stutz, is one that I'm a little bit tempted to take because that's a film that looks beautiful and looks like something that's going to impact me pretty deeply. But I think if we're going for this and I'm trying to get people to vote for my team, I have to go with Descendant. I'm picking the other documentary here. That's what I got to go with.
That's a great pick. That's the one I was like, this is probably the smarter documentary pick, but I know it's a little bit of a divisive documentary for better or for worse. While Senior seems that most people were very positive on it, but I like your team overall. You got Pinocchio, so you fit that animated, you fit the best Netflix movie of the year, and then you got some very art tour type movies. You got Bardo, you got White Noise, you got Athena, and then you have probably the best documentary here of Descendant. However, my big theme with my team was I want to have fun. And we have Glass Onion, a great time. All Quiet on the Western Front, The War Bluffs, they're down for this. My Father's Dragon, a movie you can enjoy with the whole family. And then Senior, a very kind of lighthearted documentary that features some very recognizable faces. And looking at this list of movies, there's some movies here. There's Blonde, that's not a fun time. You got The Good Nurse, which maybe has a fun clip, but is not a fun movie. And then you have some movies that who really knows what they are, because you have The Pale Blue Eye and The Wonder and Matilda. Some have been seen, some haven't, but they all don't scream anything. And then you have Wendell and Wild, which is a movie that I want to pick, but I'm not. And I know everyone out there's like, pick the gray man, pick the gray man. They know cinema. The Russo brothers are cinema. However, this movie, the movie I'm picking, is my passion pick of the group because I really like this. It features what I think is Adam Sandler's one of his best performances in his career. I'm a huge basketball nerd, so a basketball movie featuring actual NBA and international hoopers is right up my alley. So I have to round my team out with Hustle.
That's a good pick. I mean, that's a great. I was really concerned you were going to take the Gray Man, and when I say concerned, I was like, okay, if you take the Gray Man, I win automatically. that's just it. But Hustle's a very good film, and I can't even remember the main character's name. Juancho, is it Hernan Gomez?
Hernan Gomez, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. He's playing for Toronto now, so I know this. We don't talk about sports here, but that's a big up for the movie in my mind. But so we got our teams here. My team is Pinocchio, Bardo, White Noise, Athena, and Descendant. And Dyl, what's your team?
So I drafted Glass Onion, All Quiet on the Western Front, My Father's Dragon, Senior, and Hustle. Everyone out there, cast your vote. If you're listening to this on YouTube, we have a poll in our community tab. If you're listening to the podcast, it's up there on our Twitter, Fantasy Filmball. And pick your team, because whoever wins this gets our first pick next week, which is going to be drafting our slates of our favorite Steven Spielberg movies of all time. That's one that you definitely don't want to miss. So make sure, hit that subscribe button down there. Put that bell on. Steven Spielberg, who isn't thankful for him? His new movie, The Fabelmans, just came out. Maybe that's going to be drafted. Tune in to find out.
We'll have to see. But anyways, thank you for tuning in to Fantasy Filmball and our very first draft that we're doing outside of the actual game draft. But anyways, make sure you tune in next time and let us know whose team is better, because it's mine. It's my team.